Your Royal Highness, Minister Gisby, Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to thank the organizer of North Shipping 2013 for the opportunity to speak to this distinguished audience. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. And like Maruka-san, I have never walked a catwalk either, so it'll be a first. In addition to my role as a CEO of Mærsk Drilling, I'm also a member of the executive board of AP Møller-Mærsk. And today, instead of talking about all the good times in offshore, I would actually spend my time here to focus a little bit on liner shipping. I would like to address three themes being important for that area of shipping and for the shipping in general, and that is the shipping industry fundamentals, environmental performance, and strict enforcement of regulation as a prerequisite for fair competition. But let me start with a quote. It goes like this: "In almost every trade, the lowest points reached during the year at which steamers have been chartered are lower than we have ever seen before. This state of things was brought about by the large overproduction of tonnage during the previous 3 years, fostered by reckless credit given by the banks and overspeculation by irresponsible and inexperienced owners." Now, Shigemitsu-san drew a line back to the 70s. This line is drawn back to 1884. So for 129 years, with a few good blips along the road, we have actually been in this state of affairs. The fact is that our industry suffers from a fundamental supply and demand imbalance that in the long run drives down freight rates and profitability. I will not bore you with too many numbers, but from 2002 to 2012, we saw high demand growth of 7% compound annual, driven by containerization, globalization, outsourcing, and offshoring. And from 3 to 7, there was a global credit boom that sort of aided it on the way. At the same time, we experienced a volatile demand with high seasonality, as well as long-term cyclicality over 5 to 7 year periods. Now, demand in shipping is inelastic to rate changes, and thus does not adjust in case of overcapacity and declining freight rates. On the supply side, we have seen growth driven by cost benefits from vessel scale and high utilization, and also cost benefits from technological progress. There has been a high capacity investment of more than 11% compounded annual growth from 2002 to 2012. I think in this room, we all know the outcome. The high supply growth, coupled with a volatile demand growth, has driven supply and demand out of balance, definitely with a tendency to overcapacity. Furthermore, the high industry fragmentation drives price competition, and the ownership structure makes exits not happening. Shipping is characterized by high industry fragmentation, more than 100 players in container shipping, and the top 10 carriers only controlling 2/3 of the market. High fragmentation drives individual short-run incentives to gain market share and improve utilization by lowering rates. Also, each carrier is reluctant to withdraw capacity, as they only have a relatively small impact on total industry capacity and thereby pricing. Add to that a large share of family and government-owned controlled companies with maybe other than just pure profit objectives is dominating the industry. These often require lower returns to equity and are thus more willing to increase capacity to gain market share, and as a result are more reluctant to exit a low-return industry. As a result, our industry has for long, on average, not delivered return to cover cost of capital. Hence, we are constantly destroying significant shareholder value. The shipping industry has thus been destroying shareholder value with average historic returns on invested capital of only 2% from 2002 to 2011. Margins are low in the industry, on average EBIT margins of 1% from 5 to 11, and this very low historic returns have resulted in a financial distressed industry, often living on the mercy of government support and low return requirements of owners. Structurally, this model is not sustainable for anyone in the market, hence new business tools need to be developed and used to cope with this challenging situation. At Maersk Line, our response to the adverse market conditions has been to build reliable, efficient, commercially competitive networks with a purpose to deliver an excellent customer experience. We have two main assets, vessels and people, and any owner needs to manage that to make sure that their service is better than our competition and that our costs are lower. We have a low cost position driven by deploying the largest, most modern and fuel efficient assets and by leveraging on a global service center organization. While the source of our competitive advantage is cost leadership, this does not imply providing poor service to our customers. We aim to provide our customers with unmatched reliability as it reduces waste in their supply chain and will be key in delivering commercially competitive networks. We want to be easy to do business with so our customers can reduce the time they spend on operating logistics and instead focus on what matters to their customers. As you can hear, what I'm alluding to is that in liner shipping at least, owning ships is one thing, being cost efficient, being modern is another thing, but focusing on the customer, making sure that we provide something that is of value, considering that we have hundreds of thousands of transactions in just Mærsk Line in container shipping every month, is incredibly important that on top of everything else that is valid in shipping, put the customers first. We want to provide our customers with the best environmental performance to ensure that low-impact shipping becomes the norm and also becomes a driver of our own energy-efficient improvements. Second topic, let me elaborate on our environmental performance. An obvious focus for us is fuel efficiency. It makes great business sense, we all know that. Our focus on energy efficiency helped reduce our fuel bill by $1.6 billion in 2012 alone. We do have a few ships. Enabling us to remain competitive in this highly volatile market. This June, we will see the arrival of the first one of our new EEE vessels, which represent the future of low-impact shipping. The EEEs will consume approximately 35% less fuel than other new container ships and emit 50% less CO2 per container moved compared to the industry average on the Asia-Europe trade. As a result, we will have reduced our CO2 emissions per container kilometer by 11% compared to 2011, 2 years. This is also reflected in the company's absolute CO2 emissions, which has decreased by 7% compared to 11. So we have now reduced our CO2 emissions by more than 25% per container kilometer since 2007, a 5 to 6 year period. This was originally our target for 2020, so we now know we can take it even further. Technical upgrades on our vessels and the delivery of new and more efficient vessels such as the EEEs will lead to further reductions in our CO2 emissions. We are now aiming at reducing CO2 emissions by 40% per container kilometer by 2020, still using 2007 as the baseline. Some of this will be achieved through the planned changes. However, the remainder will require us to continue to find new, innovative solutions for shipping containers. These initiatives are enabling us to offer a more energy-efficient product on many global trade lanes, and this gives our customers power and control to reduce their CO2 emissions. Besides improving our CO2 footprint, we also address sulfur, which is my third topic. Most marine fuel, as everybody knows in here, is a residual product of refining and contains more sulfur than distilled fuels such as diesel. Combustion of the fuel containing sulfur results in air emissions including sulfur oxides, causing acid rain, and the fine particles that are known to be detrimental to our health. Mærsk Line was the first to switch to low sulfur fuel in selected ports in the US, Asia, and Europe to reduce shipping's impact on health. In 2015, new rules for the sulfur content of fuels used in emission control areas comes into force, requiring ship owners to switch to low sulfur fuels when sailing in the ECA areas. We welcome these rules, but we also would like to highlight that even though there's a very strong general culture of compliance in the industry, We think this is a game changer, and we think the temptation not to comply with the new rules is considerable. The reason is the significant price difference between bunker fuel and the low sulfur diesel fuels. And it might be tempting for some ship owners not to comply, unless there is a very robust enforcement scheme in place in all relevant countries. For an Aframax tanker, it could mean a difference of $15,000 per day in fuel cost compared to the normal heavy fuel. The difference is likely to be even greater for container ships. If enforcement is not sufficient, there's a real risk that those following the rules get a competitive disadvantage, and we would like to see stronger sulfur limit enforcement regimes than we have today, in particular in the ECAs after 2015. The risk of being caught or not complying must be very real, and the penalty must be considerable. This is necessary to ensure fair competition. Let me just summarize quickly. The value-destroying nature of our business with returns below cost of capital is not sustainable and is threatening the industry. New business tools and methods need to be developed and used to cope with this market, as it likely will not change in the short run. As part of our response to the challenging market, we focus on leading the industry in energy efficiency to ensure that low-impact shipping becomes the norm, and this is also a driver of our own energy-efficient improvement. Enabling our customers to take power and control of their environmental impact while at the same time making sense from a business point of view is what we consider a good starting point for creating a sustainable business. As the minister said before, how do we create robustness? In our view, the only robustness that you can create is created with your customers. Add to that a strict enforcement of regulation, and we have created a level playing field. That is sustainability to us. These were my remarks. I look forward to the panel discussion, and I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.